there was significant movement on Capitol Hill toward creating a select House committee to investigate the January 6th riot and insurrection. Speaker Pelosi today named 8 lawmakers to serve on that committee. One of them happens to be a Republican, Congresswoman Liz Cheney of Wyoming, who broke with her party famously to be one of only 2 Republicans who voted for the select committee to investigate the riot. This afternoon, Congresswoman Cheney was asked about reports that Republican leader Kevin McCarthy warned Republicans they could lose their committee assignments if they accepted an appointment to this committee.
It's clear to all the people on this committee that our oath to the Constitution, our duty, our dedication to the rule of law, and to the peaceful transfer of power has to come above any concern about partisanship or about politics.
Do you think President Trump should testify? Do you think President McCarthy should testify about what he knows?
I think that the committee will decide the parameters of the investigation. What I know is that it'll be thorough, it'll be professional, it'll be serious, and not partisan.
And by the way, and importantly, this committee is going to have power to subpoena witnesses. Now, the House Republican leader, McCarthy, reacted to Cheney's decision to serve on this committee by questioning her loyalty to her party.
I was shocked that she would accept something from Speaker Pelosi. It would seem to me, as since I didn't hear from her, maybe she's closer to her than us. I don't know.
The decision to name Republican Liz Cheney to the House 1-6 Commission has the minority leader in something of a spot. This morning, Punchbowl News, they cover the Hill, reported that Kevin McCarthy had warned, quote, if any Republican accepts an appointment from Speaker Nancy Pelosi to the January 6th Select Committee, they better be ready to get all their committee assignments from her. Another GOP House member, Adam Kinzinger, was unimpressed, telling reporters, quote, who gives an expletive? Where I'm from, there's a word choice of maybe 2 major words to put in there. Local customs may vary. You can fill in the blank. We welcome back to the broadcast on that note Michael Steele, former chairman of the Republican National Committee, former lieutenant governor of the great state of Maryland, also the host of the Michael Steele podcast, and the hat-wearing, truth-talking Mark McKinnon, former advisor to both George W. Bush and John McCain. He is, of course, among the co-hosts, the star, really, of the circus on Showtime. Gentlemen, good evening to you both. Mark, here's Mr. McCarthy, who once said in the well of the House, on live television, we have tape of it, that Trump bore responsibility and there should be a fact-finding commission. Now wants us to forget that. I guess he thinks we're stupid. What's he so scared of right now?
Well, you have to realize that his ultimate goal is to be Speaker in 2022 and for the Republicans to take the House. He's scared of Donald Trump, ultimately, and the power that he has in the primaries and the political power he still retains. But let me remind your viewers, though, Brian, that when this commission was initially proposed, Republicans said, oh, we don't want a partisan commission, and we demand the following things, including the power to equal representation on the committee and the power to subpoena witnesses. And then the Democrats said, okay, you can have all the things you asked for. And the Republicans said, no, thank you. And so now what they're getting is a committee that will have subpoena power over which they have no say. So they're going to regret this at the end of the day. And they actually should be happy that they have somebody like Liz Cheney on there who is doing her constitutional duty and putting the law and her country first. But I think also will draw the line at some really partisan behavior that could go on in that subpoena process.
Let me ask a quick follow-up, because Liz Cheney and the aforementioned Congressman Kinzinger are the Republicans that get Democrats all excited and fill them with hope, often leading to a conclusion of disappointment. Do they still match your working definition, Mark, in the year 2021 of Republicans?
Well, there's not many people that meet my definition of what a Republican is. I'm a compassionate conservative that was drawn in by George W. Bush and that message. It looks to me like there are 2 members of the Republican Party who mirror my kind of politics, and that's Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, who were the only 2 that voted for the commission. So that's kind of tells you where the Republican Party is. I believe it's clawed its way to the bottom, but thank God at least for Cheney and for Kinzinger for hanging in there and ringing the bell.
Got another Republican here. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lieutenant Governor, I have a reading for you from the book of Max Boot, actually from an op-ed in the Washington Post. And Mr. Boot writes, you would think that the shock of being chased through the halls of the Capitol by a lynch mob of Trump supporters might have brought Republican members of Congress to their senses. But it is now nearly 6 months later, and the party is just as bad as ever, to Mark's point. In fact, it may be worse than ever, also to Mark's point. So, Michael, a question I've asked you in various forms, no fewer than 25 times over the past several months. Can anything shake the party out of this kind of flat earth mindset?
Not at this time. It's sobering, it's disappointing, it's hard even to acknowledge that, but not at this time. To Mark's point, they fear Donald Trump and Trumpism, probably more so Trumpism, than that mob that came banging on the doors looking for the head of the vice president, seeking their own blood. And so I think for a lot of Americans, now becomes a very sobering period of reflection as the process of the 1/6 Commission gets underway. And I agree with you, Brian, that Liz Cheney will play a number of roles on that commission, the least of which will be to make sure that it is honest in its deliberations and its assessment and its efforts to get to the bottom line. But it also, I think, affords the American people a chance to evaluate going into the upcoming elections this fall and next year. Do we really want these guys running the country? Do we really want Kevin McCarthy to be the Speaker of the House after what we've witnessed of his leadership? Of his actions, because, baby, that ain't leadership, right? Do we really want, the fecklessness of a Republican Senate that can't even honor its own words, its own response to the 1/6 event? So I think this is a sobering moment for a lot of Americans right now. And we as citizens need to get serious about that business, because right now the calculation on the Republican side is we got this, baby. And you're not going to stop us. We got the House next year because the numbers work for us. Well, voters still have to vote. And you still have to account for what you did and failed to do over the course of the last year. So sobering is the word for me at this moment. And I think it's an important time for us to reflect on exactly what kind of leadership we want going forward.